Yo, what's up, guys? This is Evil. How's it going? Um, Wanted to make a video today because I haven't in a while. I've wanted to make a video about past events, but I have a feeling that if I did make a video about some of the things that have been going on, I'd be put on a list. So instead, today I'm going to talk a little bit about Jack Smith, who did an investigation on January 6th. He's going to be testifying in front of Congress in a couple weeks. So I wanted to kind of give a bit of a rundown on what you can expect from his testimony. And for those of you who don't know too much about what happened on January 6th, I wanted to give you a perspective, like a little bit of background knowledge, really broken down, simplified version of what happened. So here's what you're probably going to expect to hear from Jack Smith. Um, he's going to start off by talking about Trump's motivations, most likely, how we know that Trump doesn't believe the 2020 election was stolen, even though he keeps repeating it, and his supporters seem to think that somehow, despite all logic, Trump does believe that he won the 2020 election, because it's his only real legal defense at the moment. But he clearly doesn't. He knows that he didn't win, and he's going to point to a few things. One of them is going to be that Steve Bannon pointed out in an interview that they're not going to accept the election if Trump loses. Trump said it both in 2016 and in 2019 and in 2020. Like, in every election Trump has been in, he said that if he loses, it's not because he actually lost, it's because Democrats cheated. That's something he's been saying this whole time, which makes you gotta think, like, yeah, this guy's obviously full of it. Um, but that's going to be one indication. There's going to be more things like texts and messages between Trump advisors. They knew that he was aware, and he was just clinging on to some hope that he could stay in office. He's probably going to have something like that to show Congress. Um, Another thing they're going to use to prove Trump's state of mind is the series of lawsuits that he did after the election. A lot of people like to say that there are a lot of questions about that election. There's really a lot of questions and there's a lot of answers. Like, we know pretty much all of this stuff. There aren't questions about the election anymore. Giuliani had a series of lawsuits that he ended up losing his law license over because he made it all up. And you can't do that. He actually very famously got sued for defamation. Um, there was a case where they had video of someone pulling a suitcase out from under a table. I'm sure you all remember that. Um, that video, Giuliani was aware that they had put the case under the table when they'd finished counting for the night, and then when they came and opened again, they went and got the case out from under the table and resumed voting. So there's nothing nefarious about it, but Giuliani decided to make a lawsuit about it anyways, and he lost a defamation case and he lost his law license. Um, and there's some other things, like Trump has continued to never admit that he lost the election, even now, which is strange because there have been a lot of audits. I don't know if you guys remember the cyber ninjas. I think it was in Arizona. It was a whole team of technical experts who were all MAGA voters who went through the Arizona election on behalf of the Arizona Republicans, and they didn't find any voter fraud, or they didn't find enough to change the elections. They might have found like one or two instances of one or two people doing something wrong, but they didn't find widespread voter fraud. They didn't find that the election was stolen in Arizona, at least. And in many other states, they did similar things. None of them found any voter fraud. If they had, it's 2026. We would know by now. Like, come on. So, moving on, there's the January 6th part. This part, you probably have your own preconceived notions of. So, I just want to point out a few details that aren't super obvious. The people in front of the crowd who broke into the Capitol, they were Proud Boys. The person who broke through the window and then started directing people around him through the window, that was a Proud Boy. The people who initially broke the fence around the Capitol, those were Proud Boys. They weren't FBI agents, like MAGA likes to say. Um, let's see. We know that they had that the leaders of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, they were meeting with Roger Stone in the days leading up to January 6th. We also know Roger Stone was the guy who was the go-between with the Trump campaign and Guccifer 2.0. Guccifer 2.0 turned out to be a Russian agent, and the only reason Roger Stone and Donald Trump aren't in jail for that is because we can't prove that they knew Guccifer was a Russian. Some random dude on the internet with a crazy name just sent us this information. Whatever, that's a different story. We also know that those individuals who had those meetings with Roger Stone also directed the people to place pipe bombs at the DNC headquarters and the RNC headquarters. And that person was recently caught, and turns out he was a MAGA guy, not the FBI, like everyone likes to say. This is Kash Patel and Donald Trump's FBI saying that they got this guy and he was one of theirs. So I don't care what conspiracy you come up with, I'm not buying it. And then on top of that, we have Trump's own rhetoric on January 6th. Okay, I know you like to point to he said march down there peacefully bit, but there's some other things that should be acknowledged. First, there is him directing his supporters to the Capitol, right? But most MAGA supporters have already discounted that. I think what's important to remember is that Trump tweets, Pence has betrayed us. I'm sorry, I'm reading notes, if that's what it is. I don't want to get this in the wrong order or anything. But he tweets, Pence has betrayed us, and that is what triggered the Proud Boys to break through the barrier around the Capitol and eventually break in. And then Ashley Babbitt gets shot. A couple police officers died. All around bad situation. That's what triggers it. It was when he sends the message, Pence has betrayed us. Remember that message. It's going to come up in a minute. But we also have him calling people in Congress while this is occurring. And they're saying, hey, send out a message or something saying, hey, stop, rioting in the Capitol, go home, stop. And he responds to those congressmen on the phone saying, well, it seems like they have a reason to be mad, don't you think? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Now, what is he hinting, nudging them at? This is the whole thing, the bow that ties it all together for Trump's kind of silly, if you really think about it, plan. This is the fake elector scheme, and this is what is most likely going to get him in trouble, legally, because this is not an official action that he's taking as president. This is a private action that he took as a candidate, and he is only immune to official actions. That's where Jack Smith's Part 2 would have come into effect, the bit that Trump doesn't want anyone to see. This is what he is most likely legally liable for. And that, so to tell the story of this fake elector plot, it's really Eastman's plot. This guy, Eastman, he's an attorney that works for Donald Trump and the White House. A lot of overlap there. But Donald Trump comes to him and some other people in his cabinet, the ones who survived to this point, because remember, Bill Barr had already given up and left, and a few other cabinet members by this point had left. Rex Tillerson, pretty much everyone who started there was gone. And he only had a few people left, really, in cabinet positions. And so he had Eastman and these other individuals all around him, like Giuliani, his personal lawyer. There was a girl whose name I'm totally blanking on. Oh my God, can I find it in this article? Oh my God. I'm gonna have to cut this out. Sidney Powell. That's who it was. Oh my, I can't believe I spaced on that name. Sidney Powell and Eastman and Donald Trump all get together and they come up with this plan. And this plan is that they are going to go to the different states that were swing states. I think there was about 7 of them. And they were going to get fake electors to sign off on fake election results. and then send those fake election results to Mike Pence. And then Mike Pence, when he goes before Congress, would read the fake results. And then Congress, the MAGA people in the Congress, would say, yes, we accept these fake results. And then Trump would magically somehow be president in 2020 to 2024. That was the plan that they had. Okay. Remember how I said, remember the tweet, Pence has betrayed us. It triggered the mob to go in and everything. That tweet was sent right after Donald Trump had heard that Mike Pence would not be going along with that plan. He would be reading the real election results before Congress, and Donald Trump would not be voted in for a second term from 2020 to 2024. You see how it all comes together into one moment that really damns Donald Trump on every front. But yeah, that whole scheme in and of itself, even though it failed, it's more than just the January 6th riot. There is so much going on around it that I don't blame the average person for not understanding it, which is why I'm making this video, and I'm hoping it'll kind of simplify things down. And if you were wondering why Trump doesn't want Jack Smith to testify in public, that's why. But thank you guys. I'm Evil. I'll see y'all next time.